So Jon Jones is in a little bit of an interesting spot. And the only reason I say interesting is because it's a very exciting spot that he should be very happy about, but I don't think that he is. Jon Jones is, it's similar to the 4-minute mile, right? Nobody can run a 4-minute mile until somebody did. And as soon as one guy did it, all sorts of people are doing it. Not so impressive. Well, then it becomes a 3-minute mile. Nobody can do a 3-minute mile. Well, until one guy did. Now, all of a sudden, all sorts of people are doing it. It's just a very real part about human nature. And we will see it in sports, particularly combat sports. Mike Tyson comes to mind, but you will have some of these guys. Anderson Silva comes to mind. These guys that are invincible. Ronda Rousey comes to mind. Being invincible is nothing more than a media creation. It is not real. It is not true. It has never been real. It has never been true. And that's okay. Alexander Karelin, maybe the greatest of all combat athletes ever, still lost. Started out 60-0. Won 3 Olympic gold medals. 10 world championships in between. Lost to an American, Rulon Gardner. They call it one of the most significant moments in Olympic history because it was such a surprise. But that's a media creation. And when you see these kinds of things, that can carry over. And that can be very believed. When you have Mr. Sensitive like Jon Jones, right? Big and tough guy. God, he's the most sensitive baby out there. And he is insistent that you recognize his greatness. And if you ever say things like, well, hey, John, did you do it straight or did you cheat? Well, no, I cheated a whole bunch of times. Okay, great. Well, did you ever change weight classes? Did you ever take on a surmountable risk like some of the other guys are doing and gals are doing? Well, no, I didn't do that. This is my weight and they got to come to. Okay, great. But if I, the fan, then don't want to recognize your cheating ways that don't show courage of changing weight classes by today's standards, good for me. Fair game. Here's where this is good news for Jon. But he's never going to figure this out in a million years, right? Don't ask Jon to add up simple arithmetic for you. But in this situation, he wants you to recognize his greatness and only that. His greatness doesn't draw. It never has. And there are times where we have believed that Jon could become like the Michael Jordan of this sport, where even if you're playing a bum team, if Jordan shows up just to witness Jordan, he can pack an arena. We're not seeing that with Jon. We're just not seeing that. It's just not a reality, at least not yet. And the clock is ticking. Jon is more towards the end of his career than he is the beginning of his career. He's been at this 10 years. He does not have another 10 years left. So now he's in a really great spot where all of a sudden the 4-minute mile starts to apply. All of a sudden there is a question of, can he continue to beat these guys? He was a 7.5-1 favorite over Santos. One judge thought he lost the contest. I thought he lost the contest. Many media people thought he lost the contest. Many of the crowd thought he lost the contest. That is not to come out and try to go back and say, did the judges get it right? Not at all. There was no robbery. There was just a really close fight. Went to a split decision. That's perfectly reasonable. We all pack up and go home. But you're now giving the next guys the 4-minute mile lesson. When the mask comes off, when Buster Douglas knocks out Tyson, when Anderson runs into problems for the first time, when Jon Jones has a judge saying he lost a fight to a guy who was a 7.5-1 underdog that moved up from middleweight that wasn't unblemished there, all of a sudden you start to see, this guy's beatable. Whether anybody can go out there and beat him or not, they now believe they can. And the story has always been the same on fighting Jon Jones. I don't want to fight Jon Jones. I'm not going to call out Jon Jones. Okay, I just got asked to fight Jon Jones. Great. Going to be a cash grab involved there. There's going to be some fun. There's going to be some attention. There's going to be some media opportunity. And this whole thing ends with me taking a beating on worldwide TV. That's the deal. Everybody has adhered to that deal. Thiago Santos is the first guy to come out and step up and say, no, I'm going to just try to fight the guy in front of me. The end. I'm just going to fight this guy in front of me for as long as he's fighting me back. The end. And he went out and he had a very good result. Now, the reason this is great news for Jon Jones is this is what drives the industry. If Jon had it his way and everybody just stood back and go, oh my gosh, this guy is so... It doesn't help unless he could fight Daniel Cormier 3 times a year. Unless Daniel Cormier is the opponent that he's going to be facing over and over. It's not great. Jon is in a better spot now. Business-wise, his fragile little ego is going to be insulted. Well, his fragile little ego better get used to it. Because he can't beat Israel Adesanya, and the Jon Jones that's been fighting in 2019 with USADA can't beat Daniel Cormier. Neither one of those statements may be true. Neither one. But plenty of you agreed with me. And that's a good spot. That's a good thing for Jon Jones. There is now some intrigue around his ability. There's some intrigue around the outcome. It's a very good thing. There's other good things for Jon Jones too, by the way, which is Thiago Santos knocked the hell out of him. It didn't bother Jon Jones a bit. Jon Jones didn't even try to take that fight to the ground. He's a tough son of a bitch. His pacing is down. That comes with the Peds being gone. But he still paces himself more effectively than his opponents. He's still the one that walked across that ring, pinned Thiago Santos for the better part of 25 minutes right up against the fence. Sure, he had to duck a few times. Sure, he had to absorb a few times. Sure, he did. But he fired right back. He didn't have the same power as Santos. He landed a lot more punches. Santos did more damage. Tough balance. Can't come away with that, say anything bad about Jon Jones. But you could have one positive, which is he lost rounds. According to one judge, he lost the fight. According to a lot of spectators, he lost the fight, which creates an intrigue for the Johnny Walkers and the Dominic Reyeses of the world, which will create an intrigue for Jon's next fight, which will create an intrigue so Daniel Cormier want to go down or Izzy Adesanya to go up, both of which I believe would ultimately be favored to beat him. While that may hurt his little feelers and make his ego say, oh, no, you don't. Great, that's good for the business. Great, so we have a fight. People believe Israel Adesanya can beat you, Jon. Oh, what's that, Jon? Oh, you want to fight? Okay, great, that's good. And guess what? Business is going to be better. Hey, Jon, you haven't quite looked the same. You don't look as good now as the night you beat Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier looks great. We think he can beat you. Okay, great. You don't think so, Jon? Great, sign the contract. It's very good for business. It's very good to move things along. I don't know that Jon would ever be able to stand back and observe how this whole thing works. But he's in a better spot now. He's in a better spot having that contest. He's in a better spot losing rounds, digging deep, and coming back. He is a tough guy. I don't feel that Jon ever gets credit for being a tough guy. It is well recognized how skilled and dynamic he is, how long naturally he is, and what a good job he's done to use that length. Use the skills that he's got, the DNA that he has, to choose his techniques in his favor. He's very well recognized for that. But I don't think people realize how tough he is. You can either be the best in the world at your field, or you can be the toughest in the world at your field. Either one can lead you to a world championship or an Olympic gold medal. Very, very rarely. Once a decade is an athlete both. Jon's both. He should feel very good about himself. He should feel very good about that victory. He should also feel good about the spot that the naysayers are putting him in. The naysayers who are coming out and saying, this guy isn't invincible. This guy isn't unbeatable. The guys within his own division are coming out and saying, I saw something there and I can beat him. Great. Things are now better. Business is now better. Jon Jones headlined the event. Okay. His previous event, same arena. Same championship on the line. Not a whole lot of seats in there. A whole lot of people dressed up as empty seats. I can tell you that much. He now sold out again, but he had one hell of a supporting cast. But he was not the most intriguing match. I can tell you I was there. I can tell you the fans and the fans' reaction. I can tell you the media reaction. I can even tell you my own reaction. It was Askren Masvidal. When the main event is not the most anticipated match, it's weird. When a personal grudge, third from the end, is stealing all of the excitement, stealing all of the headlines post facto, getting all of the questions at the press conference, it's weird. It's wrong. It's not supposed to be that way. That is now going to be corrected. And Jon didn't do anything wrong. By the way, he didn't. Not a commentary against Jon. It's a compliment to the fact that he cleaned out the division. And there was just simply no intrigue. The mistake that Jon had made is he thought that was a good spot. He thought that was a good spot because he was getting those fake accolades from people that he's never known and will never meet. But when you're a knucklehead, that's a big deal. Whatever your Twitter, Jon's going through Twitter, blocking people, getting his little feelings. He does it all the time. It's a crybaby. Everywhere in the world except for in that cage. And the good news is his job is to be a tough guy in that cage. His business and his anticipation and his next opponent are going to be a lot more exciting because of how close the contest was with Thiago Santos. Jon Jones wakes up today with the same championship, a little bit better record, and in a better business spot than he was a week ago. Whether he realizes it or not.